the annals of tactical gaming history, few names resonate as powerful as XCOM. The original trilogy, stylized as X-COM and not XCOM without a dash, like in modern days, it spanned from 1994 to 1997. And at the time, it was quite a unique blend of base management, research, and tactical combat. There were three entries in the original trilogy: XCOM UFO Defense, also known as UFO Enemy Unknown, as you can see behind me. Right now you see the intro of the first game, and XCOM Terror from the Deep was the second one, and XCOM Apocalypse was the third one. So, the first game came out in 1994. It introduced this concept of strategic, tactical, RPG, I don't know how to call it, because you had base micromanagement, which was a kind of strategy, economic strategy. There was tactical strategy in the battles, and there were also RPG elements with your soldiers that you could level up and improve and train. It took me by surprise. I loved it. I still love it. I just finished playing again XCOM Apocalypse an hour ago. You can see all the videos in our channel from the first three games. So the story is very typical. Aliens appear in 1999, of all dates. I don't know why they chose this date so close. I mean, it was just 1994 when it came out. Aliens appear, they attack Earth, all the nations unite, they create the Extraterrestrial Combat Unit, or XCOM, or X-COM. And, the resistance begins. Humanity fights the alien. In the beginning, you always, in all the XCOM games, you have very human and weak weapons. And then you defeat the aliens, you research their weapons. Somehow you are able to replicate their technology in all XCOM games, so you start creating and using their weapons. So, as the game progresses, through the autopsies mostly, and some aliens that you interrogate, some higher level aliens, you learn that there is a whole conspiracy with aliens. They capture humans. There's a powerful alien brain that is on Mars, on Cydonia. This is their city. And you have to go to destroy it. At the end of the game, you fly there with a super spaceship that XCOM has built, and you destroy the alien brain. In the second game, you learn that right after you destroyed Cydonia, as you can see in the intro of the game that's playing here, the aliens sent a pulse from Mars straight to Earth, which took some time to arrive. And 40 years later, in 2039, aliens started attacking again, this time not from the air, but from the depths of the sea. That's very important for the experience in the second game, which I will get into later. So at the end of the game, you find out that they have this base called Tleth at the bottom of the ocean, at the very far bottom of the biggest trench in the ocean, which you go there with a super submarine that XCOM builds, and you destroy it. It really looks like, as you can see, it looks like a coffin with a squid on top of it. I don't know what it was supposed to be, but you destroy it. So the last game was XCOM Apocalypse. In this game, many things changed. I think that's for the best. I mean, the producers wanted it to be like something completely different, but also the same. So there is no longer Earth. Now it's just a city, Mega Primus. It's somewhere in the 21st century. To the end, I think must be 30, 40, 50 years after the previous XCOM. So now the aliens, new aliens, started making interdimensional gates, and they arrive through these in their spaceships and they start to terrorize the city. At the end of the game, you infiltrate their dimension and you destroy everything. I mean, XCOM is brutal in the third game. You destroy 10 buildings, which is their bedrooms, their food, their weather systems, their babies, their mother, their spaceship, their command center. And at the end of the game, you also destroy the dimensional gates because, I don't know, since no alien lives anymore, they cannot do anything. You also want to make sure that we will never come back. I don't know how they could come back, but you want to make sure they won't. Now, about the gameplay. The gameplay in all three games is mostly the same. XCOM starts with very few weapons, humanly made. I don't know why, really. I mean, in the first XCOM it makes sense. You start like with rifles and stuff and weapons that humans have. But in the second game, it's totally unexplained why XCOM suddenly could not use all this alien technology that she mastered in the first game. And in the third game also, I don't know. Okay, no one knows, I think. But always the humans have to start with weak weapons so they can capture aliens, research their technology. We can miraculously replicate it anyway and use it. So we use the aliens' weapons. And this is the end of the beginning stage of the game, the tutorial. And after you get to use their weapons a bit and you get happy and you feel powerful, then suddenly stronger aliens appear, more resistant, like new species of aliens. In order to defeat these, you have to research even stronger weapons. And at the same time, the same goes for their spaceships, submarines, whatever they use. Again, they arrive in very weak crafts in the beginning and then they get stronger ones as soon as you can replicate their big weapons. And then you have to replicate bigger alien weapons. So in the mid game, always you get a slump as the aliens become too powerful. But, there's always a but, if you survive, and however you can survive, you will research their stronger weapons, you will research the psychic attacks, the mind control, and you will overcome everything. Then you will create your own armor as well, your own spaceships, your own supercrafts, your own super submarines. However, in the third game, which is the most well-made one, you get another late stage twist where the aliens come with even newer technologies like the shield and the cloaking device, and then you also have to overcome another late stage peak of the aliens. In the other two XCOM games, the first two, you just have the mid stage and then you go up and you destroy them completely. In the third game, they put another bump in the road. However, the important thing is that all three games share this same mechanic. You start weak, you get stronger, they get stronger, you get stronger, you overcome everything, you destroy it. It's a very nice and satisfying game loop, and all this is done through research in your bases that you build, that you get scientists in, that you get to manufacture things with your technicians. Overall, if you like this kind of games, it's the best you can get in my opinion. So about the gameplay of the battles. The first game had the classic turn-based system. Each unit has some time units, and with these you can spend to move, to shoot, to kneel, to throw grenades. Everything has a cost attached to it. You can shoot like with good aim for much more time units. You can shoot snapshots. You can use auto shots in which you get to spend very little time units, but they are very inaccurate. So everything is quite well balanced. Then new weapons, larger weapons require more time units, so you have to do even more tactical planning. The second game was pretty much the same as the first, because it was mostly a reskin, but a great reskin. I mean, they really overdid themselves. And finally, the third game gives you the option to do real-time combat, and even its turn-based combat is done in real time. What do I mean? It's like you can click, and as you click, things can happen. Like grenades can go off at the same time that you can move your soldier in real time in its turn. It's very nice, it's very well made. It's not very well balanced, but it feels good. It feels great. So about the technologies and the equipment, as we already said, there is a track that you have to use to upgrade yourself from the human weapons to the big alien weapons. you start with standard weapons in the first game and body armor. Then you get the laser and plasma weapons, you get the flying suit, you get the psionic augmentations, you get grenades. In the Terror from the Deep, you start with harpoons and hydrojets because reasons, as I said. Then you go into sonic weapons, you end up with the huge sonic cannons, you got the thermal shock launchers, which are the bazookas of the game. The armor, you get the magnetic ion armor, in which you can do the underwater movement. Actually, in all games, the later armors allow you to fly. And the third game, you start again with some human weapons, like normal ones, and then you get to use the alien weapons, dimension missiles, you get the shields, as I said, you get the cloaking devices, and you get all the advanced weapons. I mean, it's the same loop. About the music of the games and the audio design. In the first game, there is very little ambient music. I never particularly liked it, to be honest. The sound effects are quite good, actually in all three games. I will not talk about the sound effects again, they're very well made, they fit the games perfectly. The second game has a music that has really stuck with me. It's ambient, but it's dark, it's spooky, it sticks in your head. It's like horror movie music. It really sets the tone of the game, which is supposed to be darker. And the third game has a very electronic music. Sometimes it go into beats, sometimes it go into an ambient electronic music. I find it quite good, not everyone likes it. I think it fits the game very well with the visuals and everything else. And now let's talk a bit about the end game in these games. As I said, in the first two games, you have a single mission at the end that you access by building the supercraft, and then you use this to go to the last mission. I mean, as soon as you use it, you get a button in these games that say go to last mission. The first one is Cydonia, the second one is Tleth, but in the third game, you have to destroy the 10 alien buildings that effectively you genocide the aliens, you wipe them out completely forever. So, the games were made by Mythos Games, by the Gallo brothers. Golub, I don't know how they hope it's not butchered it too much. So, for the first game, they approached Microprose, which was a big, great company back then and a very big name in strategy games. They did not really believe in the game, so they did not give them a lot of budget. The game, when it came out, it had a lot of bugs. I mean, it was super playable, but it had a lot of bugs. But it was super, it was original, people loved it, I loved it too. So it got a sequel, but the sequel was not developed by the same team as the original team. It was developed by Macroprose themselves. I will not get into, like the gossip stories about how, why, what happened. The thing is that they mostly reskinned the game, but in my opinion, they did it excellently. They created a reskinned game which is even better than the original. It's masterfully done. It's got great horror vibes. The aliens are haunting. They stick with you. I mean, I don't remember many aliens from the first game, but I remember almost every alien from the second game. I remember the lizardmen, the crabmen, the big, like Medusa-like things, the dinosaur. I mean, in the first game you had the sectopod, but the dinosaur is much more impressive. I remember the psionic things, these Medusas, the tentaculars that turn your people into horrible zombies when they touch them, like the Chrysalis in the new games. And the third game, and I think the third game was also developed by Mythos, and they really wanted to, end it, and they really did end it. I mean, they pushed it so far. It was also full of bugs, and some bugs that gave you infinite money, as you have seen in my gameplay videos. But really, this game was so far ahead from the other two in everything. I mean, in the beginning, when we saw the magazines, the previews, because no internet back then, and we were seeing the previews in the magazines, we were like, what the fuck? Only a city? What happened to the world, the Earth? But this city had much more strategy in it than the whole Earth in the previous games, because in this city everything happened in real time, everything happened in front of your eyes. I mean, for example, you send soldiers and stuff from one base to another. These come out from your base in cars, in hover cars, in real cars, and they go. You can see them going from one base to another. And if you have enemies in the city, because the city, like the Earth countries, the city has companies, and these companies, like in the previous game, the countries, they can be persuaded by the aliens to join the aliens. So you might move cargo and people from one base to another, and they can be attacked by your enemy companies, and you have to defend them. So you can have a soldier die because she was moved from one base to another, or a technician that you were moving, he might die because some company blew up their car. It was so deep. And if you look at the save games, I did not know that, but when I looked at the save game files, I saw that each company is keeping its own relationship graph with all other companies, its own income graph with all other companies, like what trade they do, how much they import and export between themselves. It's amazingly deep. You can also raid companies that are hostile to you. I really cannot begin to, to express how much I love the third game and what it did for the series. It's so big, so deep, so complex, and it was really the end of the series. I mean, I think the reason they never had another XCOM game back then is that they could not overcome the third one. The third one was the top. You could not go anywhere from there. And that's why I think they went into other genres, and you got which will also play in the channel for a little bit, what was it, the Interceptor, which was like a sky, flight simulator, and you had the Enforcer, which was a third person action. Anyway, the bottom line is that together these three games have a unique legacy. They have a great design philosophy, they are very ambitious, they succeeded in creating a universe that's deep, that's scary, that's full of action and strategy and micromanagement and RPG. And when one of your soldiers dies after like 6 months or 3 months in training and service, when it hurts, I have reloaded entire missions just so that this one guy or gal doesn't die. I don't know, I think it's great. You should play them. All this time you've been seeing behind me scenes from our gameplay videos. And that's all I had to say about the XCOM games. You just had to experience them.